can find your answer. All right, so sine 10 degrees. We're going to go to 4 decimal places. All right, so you should get 0.1736. All right. So sine 10 degrees. All right, number 2, cosine negative 10. Come on, Justin. Stuff doesn't get done by itself. All right, so cosine negative 110 degrees should have a negative 0.3420. All right, now number 3, tangent pi over 9. Pi over 9 is not a degree, it's a radian. So now you got to change modes on your calculator. Make sure you're in radian mode this time. You go to mode, find radian, and highlight it. You go to mode. No. We're in radian mode now. They said. All right, so tangent pi over 9 should be 0.3640. All right, so number 4, secant 20 degrees. Since we don't have a secant button, okay, we're going to use this formula right here. So the secant of an angle is 1 divided by x. Now, x is the same as cosine theta. So I can replace this x here with cosine theta. So that means that secant of theta is 1 over, or 1 divided by, the cosine of theta. So that means that secant 20 degrees is equal to 1 over cosine 20 degrees. Yes. Number 4, degree. Do you see the little degree symbol? Should be on your calculator. All right, so secant 20 degrees is 1 divided by the cosine of 20 degrees. All right, so now we can put that in our calculator. So again, make sure you're in degree mode again. All right, so 1.0642. Yes? You can do the cosine of 20 degrees, get that answer, and then use the x to the negative 1 key. That's the inverse. X to the negative 1. It's not the same as cosine to the negative 1.
Oh, it's 1 over cosine.
It's 1 divided by cosine. It's the same thing. 1 divided by is 1 over. All right, now cosecant 4.5. So this is going to be the same as 1 divided by the sine of 4.5. Now we got to go back into radian mode. So negative 1.0230. All right, then number 6, sine of 1.35. 1.35 is a radian, so make sure you're in radian mode again. All right, so 0.9757. 9757. Yes? Everybody get these? No. Are you even using your calculator? You got to practice using your calculator. Okay? Don't just copy down what I'm doing without actually checking it. Yeah? Are you in the right mode? Are you sure?
I'm just waiting to do it right now.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. Well, because that's 20 degrees, that just means you're in degree mode. Why change the mode on your calculator?
Why do you know so?
Mode, maybe? Why? What happens by line? Are you guys looking at the same thing? See that right there? That's a D. Probably means you're in degree mode. Now you got to change that. So what I would do is probably type in your calculator on Google and how to change mode.
Sorry.
Yes.
So when
Top left. Yes. Radian. Remember, if you don't see a degree symbol, it's in radians. See? That's a degree symbol. If you don't see that, that means it's radians. All right, so if you don't know how to change the mode on your calculator, you're going to have to look it up on the internet. Find your little manual. It'll say it in the manual if you still have it. But you can download the manual or look it up. It'll tell you how to do it. All right. So now what we're going to do is look for the angle. So there's going to be two angles that we have to find. And this is kind of like what we did on the unit circle when we're looking for the angles, but now we're not using the unit circle to do this. We're using the calculator, because the angles that we're looking for are not on the unit circle. Now, the first thing you want to do is figure out what two quadrants the angle is going to be in. All right? So we did this before. I think it was on Monday. So it says that this is a positive value, and it's sine. So what two quadrants is sine positive in? Okay, so remember your A, S, T, C. It's 1 and 2. A for all, everything's positive in 1, and then S for sine, positive in 2. All right, so we know there's an angle in quadrant 1, and there's one in quadrant 2. So now we're going to do the sine inverse, because we're looking for an angle of 0.8191. All right, so we're going to put that on our calculator. Make sure you're in degree mode, because the directions say give two angles in degrees, right? Directions, 0.8191 equals. All right, so it says round to two decimal places, so 54.99. All right, now if we look at our little table here, okay, our drawing, 54.99 is this angle right here in quadrant 1. All right, because we know there has to be an angle that's between 0 and 90 degrees, and 54.99 is between 0 and 90. All right, so that's this angle right there, 54.99. All right, now how can we find the second angle that's in quadrant 2? So this angle right here is all the way over to here. It has to be between 90 and 180. Good. All right. Who said that? Good job. Good job. All right, so this is the angle we're looking for. So this is where the reference angle formulas come back up at the top here. All right. So to find this angle right here, we can take the whole 180 and subtract off this part right here. This angle right here is actually the angle that you just found because they're congruent. Right? So this angle right here, which is 54.99, is the same as this angle right here. These are congruent angles. So if we know this is 54.99, we can take a whole 180 degrees, which is half a circle, and subtract this off. That's what this angle right here would be. So 180 minus 54.99. And so that's going to be 125.01. So that's what the second angle is. So drawing pictures, looking for congruent angles, using 180 degrees or 360, it's going to help a lot in finding what these angles are. Definitely draw pictures. Trig is a lot about drawing pictures. All right. So number 8, cosine, and it has to be positive. All right, so what two quadrants is cosine positive in? Okay, everything's positive in 1, and then cosine is also positive in 4, ASTC. All right, so now we're going to do the cosine inverse of 0.8746. And so you get 29.00, so that's 29 degrees. And we can see that that's this angle right here. That's in quadrant 1. So we found one of the angles, 29 degrees. So how can we use that to help us find that line, which is between 270 and 360? Yeah, 360 minus 29 degrees. Because this angle right here is 29, this angle right here is also 29. These are congruent angles. And so if this is 29 degrees, I can take the whole 360 and subtract that off. Okay, so I'm subtracting that 29 degrees off. All right. So 331. All right, number 9. Now it's negative. So what two quadrants is sine negative in? So sine is the y coordinate. Okay, 3 and 4. All right, so let's see what the calculator gives us. Remember, the one in quadrant 3, the answer has to be between 180 and 270, and the one in quadrant 4 has to be somewhere between 270 and 360. So let's see what the calculator gives us. All right, so negative 0.6514. So it's negative 40.65 degrees is what the calculator says. Well, that's none of those angles. But we can use it to find the angles. Well, negative 40.65, that's this angle right here. But that's just a reference angle, and because it's a reference angle, we can say it's also just 40.65. All right, well, this angle right here is also congruent to this angle right here. All right, so if I know this is 40.65, how can I find this angle right here? How can I go from here all the way to there? No, you can't use 270. What is it? No, you're close. We are using 180. What? No. Because if you did 180 minus 40, that's 40. We need the answer to be between, remember, this angle right here, all the way here, has to be between 180 and 270. 180 plus. There you go. Yeah, so from here to here is 180, right? That's half a circle. And then we want to add this angle on. So that would be another 40.65. So we take 180 plus 40.62. I told you. All right, so that's 220.65. That's between 180 and 270, so it makes sense. All right, now, how do we find this angle right here? It's going all the way over here. Go all the way over here. Come on. You said it before. There you go. Subtract it from 360. So 360 minus 40.65. And so that would be 319.35. Which makes sense that it's in quadrant 4. It has to be between 270 and 360. All right, so let's do the cosine, and it's negative. All right, so what two quadrants is cosine negative in? That would be the x values. Okay, 2 and 3. All right, so we know one of the angles is between 90 and 180. The other one's between 180 and 270. All right, so you get 115.89 degrees. So is that one of the angles? Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense that it's the one in quadrant 2. All right, now we've got to find the one that's in quadrant 3. All right, well, so on this one, you could find this reference angle here. Okay, so you can take 180 and subtract off 115, that's this angle. This angle right here is going to be congruent to this angle. These are equal. Then we can take this plus this plus this. This is the sum of parts. All right, so find this reference angle here. That's 180 minus 115.89. 64.11.
Wait, what?
That's 64.11, which is the same as that angle. Those are congruent. So now you have two options. Okay, you have two options to get from here all the way to here. You can take this one right here, this blue one, that's the 115.89, add 64.11, that's this angle, and then add on another 64.11, that's this angle. That gets you from here all the way to here. Another way you can do it is take 180 degrees, that's half the circle, and then just add on 64.11, that's this angle right here. Well, just look at it this way. How do I get from here to here? If you know this angle right here is 64.11, add it to 180. That's all you're doing. Take 180, that's this part right here, and add this on. That's 64.11. So 180 plus 64.11. That's all this is saying. Get from here to here. All right, so it should be 244.11. All right, so again, all I'm trying to do is get from here all the way to there. 180 plus 64.11.
Oh.
Okay, all I did was I redrew it right here without this thing on it. Okay? That's the first angle. That's just to here. Right. That's going from here to here. And now I got to get all the way back over to here too. To get the second angle. So I took, so you can take this 115.89, add 64.11, then add another 64.11. That's one way to do it. Or you go from 180 plus 64.11. That'll get you there also. Okay, so you can break it up and then add up the parts. Add the 115. Yeah, you can do it that way. Yeah. All right, so see if you can do number 11. Tangent is positive. Tangent's positive. What two quadrants is tangent positive in? Okay, 1 and 3. They are 180 degrees apart from each other. They lie on a straight line. Okay, so that will help you with one of the angles. Just let you know. Did the tan inverse of 1.6347?
Yeah, thank you.
Are you in degree mode? Are you typing the number there? All right, now, how do we find the other one? There you go. How would you subtract?
I added.
The answer has to be between 180 and 270. Okay? So we can add, so we take 58.54 and then add on 180, because this is a half a circle from here to here. That's 180 degrees. We'll get all the way over the line. That's where you draw it. All right, so I should get 238.54. All right, then tangent is negative in what two quadrants? Okay. Where? 2 and 4. There you go. 2 and 4. All right, so in the calculator, it's going to come out negative 61.68. But that's neither of those angles. But we can use it to help us out. Because the angles have to be between 0 and 360. We know this angle right here is between 90 and 180. This right here is between 270 and 360. So how can we use this? This is not the answer, but how can we use it to help us? Yeah, I can use it as a reference angle. That's right. So this is 61.68, which is the same as that angle right there because they're vertical. Vertical angles are congruent. Okay. So this is 61.68. That makes this one 61.68. How can we use that to get this angle right here? Yes. Okay. So we take the whole thing, half a circle, 180, subtract this off, that gets us back to here. Okay. Take 180, subtract it off, and back here. And that's what we want. So 180 minus 61.68. All right, so that's 115. 0.32. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, that's 115. What? 6.8. Right, it is 1 to 18. That's what I meant. Yes. Okay, you guys gotta listen. I've explained it multiple times, but you guys are talking to each other. Okay, I want to go from here to here. Okay, I know this is 61.68. That means this is 61.68. Okay, so I can do 180, which is half the circle, subtract off 61.68. Okay? Now, how do I find this angle right here, the one in quadrant 4? No, it's not the same. Yeah, I know this angle is not 118.32. Subtract it from 360. From here all the way to here is 360. We want to subtract this off.
Isn't it essentially like just upside down?
No. They're not directly across. Okay? Yes. Wait, what? No, you don't have to. So, because this is in quadrant 4, and I know this reference angle, I can use that formula that's on top. It's the same thing that I used to get the first one, right here. So, this one, I did 180 minus this angle. That's the one in quadrant 2. To get this one in quadrant 4, I can do 360 minus the angle. That's this angle right here. I have that 61.68. So I do 360 minus it. Yeah. The 61.68 though. So 360 minus 61.68, 298.32. All right. So drawing these pictures and understanding, are you using 180 or 360 is important when we talk about radians now. Okay, because it's not as clear cut, okay? But how we do it is exactly the same. All right, so go ahead and turn it over. All right, so now you got to change modes in your calculator. You got to be in radians now. All right, so 0 to 2 pi is the same as 0 to 6.28. That's what 2 pi is. 2 times pi. Brian? Stop. All right, so 2 times pi is 6.28. All right, so let's figure out what 2 quadrants this is going to happen in first. So it's positive, so what 2 quadrants is sine positive in? Okay, 1 and 2. All right, so let's see what the calculator gives us. So let's do the sine inverse. What? It is. But now we're in radians. So radians, 2 pi is 6.28 radians. Because we're not using the unit circle now. We're using decimals in our calculators. So 0.0175. All right. Yeah, make sure you're in radians though. Yeah, we're still looking for angles. All right, so 2 decimal places, 0.02. That's this angle right here. That's 0.02 radians. Now, so this is one of the answers. That's this angle right here. Now, how do I find this angle right here? What do you mean the same thing? It's not the same. Do what? No, these are right here. We're not in degrees though. So what's the same as 180 in radians? It's pi. Yeah. So now we do pi minus 0.02.
Wait, how did you get the first one?
All right, so 3.12 is the other one. All right, so I put over here on the board what your decimal breakdown is. Okay? So 90 degrees is pi over 2 radians. Its decimal is 1.57. Just take pi divided by 2. There's your decimal. Right? 180 degrees. A half a circle is the same as pi radians. That's 3.14 as a decimal. Right? Okay. 3 pi over 2. Okay, at 270. Its decimal 4.71. And then 2 pi, 1 complete revolution, it's 6.28. Since this angle in quadrant 1, okay, falls in quadrant 1, the answer has to be between 0 and this 90 degrees, or pi over 2. That means pi over 2 is 1.57 radians. So this has to be between 0 and 1.57, okay, which is 0.02, that is. Now this angle right here is in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 has to fall between 1.57 and 3.14. That's decimal. All right? And 3.12 is between 1.57 and 3.14. Okay. So you're doing it the same way that you did with degrees, but now we're working with radians. So you don't use 180 degrees, you use pi. You don't use 360 degrees, you use 2 pi. Right? So if you have, so the process is the same. So if you think, oh, I have to add 180, or I have to subtract it from 180, use pi instead. Okay, you have a pi key in your calculator. Yes. Vertical. All right. So cosine is positive in what 2 quadrants? Okay. Positive in 1 and 4. All right. So let's do the inverse cosine. ASTC. All right. So you should get 0.17. So that's the one in quadrant 1. That's 0.17. So how do we find now the one in quadrant 4? Yeah. Okay, so remember, if we were in degrees, this 0.17 is the same as this angle right here. This is 0.17 also. In degrees, we would take the whole circle 360 and subtract that off. But now that we're in radians, we use the equivalent of 360, which is 2 pi now. So we take 2 pi and then subtract off 0.17. All right, so you should get 6.11. All right, 15. Sine is negative. So what 2 quadrants is sine negative in? Okay, in 3 and 4. So let's see what the calculator gives us. So you get negative 0.35. So that's going to be this angle right here. Okay, that's the reference angle, 0.35, which is the same as this angle over here. All right. How can we find this one right here? Quadrant 3. What is it? You're on the right track.
It's pi.
Pi, right. So we'll take pi plus 0.35.
All right, so it's pi plus 0.35, which is 3.49. All right, then how do we find the one in quadrant 4? Uh, 2 pi minus 0.35. And so it should be 5.93. All right, so go ahead and try the last 3. Should be able to do those. Remember, draw the picture so you can see the quadrant that the angles are going to fall in.
Oh,
Uh, for yeah. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but I think when you round it to 2 decimal places, the 9 goes up to a 10. Yeah. The other 2 are 1.25. Take pi minus 1.9. So then you can add either add all 3 little parts together or take pi plus 1.25. It should be 4.38. You asked me how to get 4.38?
Yeah.
all right, so there's 2 ways you can do it. You can go from here to half the circle, that's pi, then add on 1.25. That's this angle right here. So 3.14 plus 1.25. Okay, or you can take 1.9, that's the first angle, add on 1.25, and then add on another 1.25. So you have 3 parts together.
Yeah, how do you get the 1.9?
Put in cosine inverse of negative 0.3214 in the calculator. It gives you that. Actually, just put it in the calculator. You can use 1.24, that's fine. All right, so 0.87 is the first one. That's 0.87. Which is the same as that angle right there. Or add on half a circle, 4.0. last one. All right, so the calculator is going to give you negative 1.08. That's this angle right here. Which is that angle right there. Should be 2.06.
So this on number 18, the calculator is giving you the negative angle, negative 1.08, which is the reference angle right here. So just make it positive. Then you can move it up here also. Okay, those are congruent. And then we can take pi, which is half the circle, subtract off 1.08, which is that one. And then we can take 2 pi and subtract off 1.08. Charlotte, can figure out how to change the mode?
Yeah.
How do you? What button did you have? Mhm. Oh, okay.
The first one.
Question 0 to 3. All right. So 1 through 6, you're giving both answers in degrees. 7 through 10, both answers in radians. Make sure you convert to radians. And then 11 through 16, you're finding your angles on the unit circle. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing, but you're not using the calculator for the bottom 6. You're using the unit circle to find the 2 angles. Which is what we did in 9.5 on Monday.